Hello humans, Master Reflex here, bringing you the low quality content you deserve, and today we will be going over Tellarknights, because if you couldn't guess it, they got new support in a fairly short time span since their last one. I was actually thinking about this. With the new support, like the older wave back in 23 was already really competent. Like, even this year I posted a video about a Tellarknight deck that was fully functional. The difference now, when you look at these cards, I will tell you immediately, the thing they do is not make the deck more powerful, they make the deck more consistent at getting to its own power level. And that's what you really want to look for in a deck. It's not about how high it can fly, it's about how well it can coast. And this support is exactly that. I'll actually get into it at the end of the video about like how easy it is to play through like some of these hand traps with this deck. So, yeah, so for this, we're actually going to start off by showing the basic one-card combo with the new support. And all you need is Constellar Caster, but it can also be the other new starter, which they both get exactly into. So, when this card is summoned, period, you can special summon one Constellar monster from your deck, except another copy of itself. For the rest of the turn, you can only special summon light or dark monsters from your extra deck. Now, that is an interesting restriction, because the last deck I posted about this, it actually had a different restriction where you can only summon XEs, but with that, you can actually get into some interesting links. But regardless, and with that, we are going to special summon Tellarknight Stygian, or however that's pronounced. And this, when it is summoned... Oh, by the way, it's always a Constellar. This one, however, is not a Tellarknight, so that is kind of an interesting thing to remember about this card, is because it's always a Constellar, never a Tellarknight. Deltaros can't get into it, and a few other things, so you gotta be careful when remembering that. This is both, but this is only a Constellar. When this card is summoned, you can add a Tellarknight or Constellar monster from your deck to your hand. So we are going to go ahead and add the main deck, Constellar Caduceus, and if we control a Constellar monster, we can special summon it, and then during the main phase, you can add a Constellar spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Now, this might not look like it, but any level 4 extender will make any one hand trap your opponent throws at this not matter, because, like, if they hit this, but you have an extender like the newer Lyrin, that just makes this not matter, and if they hand trap this, well, you already have access to a rank 4, which is, like, a lot of comboing, and, like, hitting this doesn't matter, because, again, you're just going so far, so quick. So it's, like, really easy to just ignore early on, just quite a few hand traps. So, next... One of the cool effects of Stygian, which I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, is that it can be treated as a 2 level 4s for an XE that needs 3 or more XE materials. So we are going to summon the new Deltaros, Tellarknight Constellar Deltaros. While it's on the field, rank 5 or higher, Tellarknight and Constellars cannot be targeted with card effects once per turn, a soft once per turn. You can detach one material from this card, which we will detach the Stygian. And we can add one Constellar or Tellarknight from our deck to our hand, and then immediately we can normal summon one light monster, which we will go ahead and summon Unukalai. Unukalai on summon will go ahead and dump Alteran. Next, we are going to go ahead and overlay an M7 on top of the Deltaros, and that will matter in a moment, but we are now going to overlay these two into Caduceus. Again, like, look how many of the, like, wave of 23 stuff you're using. You're just going through so much of this. We can attach a material, and we can banish Castor, because even though this is a hard once per turn to summon from deck, this doesn't copy its name. It only applies its effect that activates on normal summon, so you can just skip that hard once per turn. Very cool. So we are going to go ahead and summon Deneb, and Deneb will go ahead and get us a Lyrin. And then when the Deneb is summoned, we're also going to special summon Alteran from our graveyard. Alteran on summon, we're going to target the M7 and blow it up. And here's why that matters. The new Deltaros has a floating effect similar to the old one, except it cannot be sent from the field to the graveyard. It has to be sent to the graveyard except from the field. While it's a material, it's not treated as a monster on field, so Deltaros can activate to special summon a Tellarknight or Constellar in your hand or banish, and we are going to special summon the Banish Castor. Now the once per turn actually matters on this card, but we are going to overlay these 3 level 4s into another copy of Tellarknight Constellar Deltaros, and we are going to detach the Alteran, to go ahead and search Altair and immediately normal summon it. Altair will activate Chainlink 1, Lyran will special summon itself as Chainlink 2, and we will get back the Stygian, and then the Lyran will go ahead and search any spell or trap we want, which, in this case, we will get Skybridge. Now, this Deltaros is going to stay up this time, because it has a really cool effect when you use Caster as XE material. Well, once per turn, when your opponent activates a spell card or effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card, negate that effect, and destroy the card. So while it has these 2, you can detach them and negate a spell card. Very nice. And then finally, Stygian can be treated as 2 materials once per turn, search once per turn, and its a final effect is that it can treat itself and another Tellarknight or Constellar and make them be treated as level 5, so we will turn these 2 into Pallades. Now finally, we are going to go ahead and activate Constellar Tellarknights to special summon the caster from our graveyard. And we are going to go ahead and we are going to attach another M7 on top of Ptolemy. And then we are going to use Constellar Tellarknights to turn this into an extra Tellarknight Ptolemy Omega 7. Which now we will overlay these two. Which before we do that, we'll go ahead and detach the Altair, add this back to hand. And then we will overlay these two into Caduceus, which Caduceus will add back this and another copy of this. So this is our hand. We've got 2 different forms of follow-up, and then the Skybridge set. So, what is our end board? Well, here's the fun fact about Caster. The effect to turn your XE into a spell negate is not a once per turn. So this is actually 2 different spell negates. This is a bounce. Omega M7. Well, you have 7 or more Tellarknight monsters with different names in your graveyard and or banishment. It gains 27 attack defense, unaffected by everything. That's very cool. But once per turn, quick effect. You can detach any number of materials from this card, then target that many monsters your opponent controls, shuffle them into the deck. So this is up to 3 shuffles. And so we got 2 spell negates, 3 shuffles, a bounce. And then the Skybridge can turn any of these Tellarknights, especially ones that already use their effect, into a new name, which in this case we'll just get Lyran to go get another search, and that will summon back the Altairin, which on summon, because we control 3 light XEs, we get to pop 3 cards. So 3 pops, 3 spins, 1 bounce, 2 spell negates. I gotta say, for a 1-card combo, that's really impressive. That being said, it's not impressive that the end board is shooting really high, it's the fact that it was so efficient to do this, and you know how much you can still access even when you're getting hand trapped, because the only hand that's going to lose to a hand trap is a hand that was probably like this. It was literally this and no other cards in hand. So that's really solid. And once a certain point is reached, like any one hand trap isn't really going to stop much of this. So now that we got this combo out of the way, let's go ahead and actually back up a little bit. This is back in grave. And what was the, yeah. So when we have this up, one of the other things we can do, let's say we activated this is still up, this is still attached to the Deltaros, or the Pallades. Instead of summoning Omega M7, we could actually summon Diamond, so this is in our extra deck, and instead of summoning Caduceus to get back these cards, we can instead summon back a Tellarknight like this to make Batlamus. So our end board will look a lot more like this, and then the Pallades will go ahead and bounce this. And what this end board is something a little different, where this is 3 monster negates against dark monsters. Obviously has a floodgate effect against Infernoid, Lightsworn, I guess, where your opponent can't dump anything. Like, haha, nice branded fusion that went to 2. Like, that doesn't work. So what Lyran does... Anyways, wow, I flubbed right there. So, Diamond negates non-once per turn strikes dark monsters. This turns every monster on field dark. So, you have 3 monster negates that destroy them when your opponent summons a monster, so you can keep them off cards on board, which is really handy against a deck like Yummy. And in addition, their fusion spells, they can't dump from deck, and you still have the spell negate here, so you have a bounce, 3 dark monster strikes, spell negate, and then you can still tag to get a bunch of pops. Like, it's still quite a bit. But this is like kind of the versatile end board you can kind of manipulate and decide which one is better. But now that I've shown you this, I want to kind of show off one more other thing. So, when I was saying, like, this deck got way more resistant to hand traps, I kind of wasn't, like, joking. When I was building the deck earlier this year, one of the things I was trying to do is make sure the number of extenders was fair, because there are certain choke points in this deck, and certain starters that are really hard to fight through if they get hand trapped. But this is kind of different. Like, let's say you normal summon Caster. This card summons from deck. It's, like, so easy to hand trap this. But, like, any level 4 extender like Lirin makes that not matter. So if this gets hand trapped, that's one less card in your opponent's hand. You still get a search. If this gets hand trapped, that's 2 cards on your opponent's hand. Well, then it kind of doesn't matter either, because you can still access Caduceus, and Caduceus can go ahead and do what is basically the exact same thing. Get this, special this, and then add this. So, like, one extender, in order to stop this line of play, your one extender, your opponent needs 3 hand traps to deal with. And then if you have another extender, that could make that not matter as well. It's, like, really, really impressive how quick you can just overwhelm your opponent's hand trap reserve with some of these extenders that are just naturally an engine. Because prior, I was, like, playing Sakitama, Thrasher, like, the Kashtira package. But, like, you get to do a lot of that in-engine now. And that's, like, something really important to keep in mind is this deck did not really get more powerful. It got much better at accessing its own power while your opponent is there. And that's, I think, a big thing people are going to need to recognize is this deck, like, is a lot more resistant to its original choke points, and it can play through a lot more stuff. So you should probably be kind of cautious about, like, how you decide to build this deck and what kind of combos you go for, because the restrictions have kind of changed around. And finally, probably the best part, this card single-handedly Caster made it to where I don't believe... Well, first off, I never believed the whole turn skip thing with Tomias was very good, but now this very much proves it, because, like, if you're going to try to play a real game with the opponent, that version of the deck could never do that, and now it's, like, very obviously you're not going to do that. But that's gonna be it for me. Thank you all for watching, and remember, Master Interflex will take your soul.